isn't, even for those that are able-bodied like myself, it seems to be a cornerstone of people just aren't willing to do it. So I think I'm just really trying to figure out how we could get funds to do, even if the bridge is a long way off. I think it would just be such an asset to downtown Bothell.
I think the longer distances are also a problem with like the weather, because right now we have such a heat wave. It's so hard to walk more than like 5 or 10 minutes without getting burnt out. And sometimes it gets really cold or rainy in Washington as well. So,
Laura and then Sheila.
Yeah, hi. I had some really interesting feedback from a few different people, and after listening to the city council's take on the park, and the main thing was just what is the park for? I thought a lot of people were coming and asking that or mulling it around and thinking about that, and having like spoken to a lot of different people that strolled by. I really feel that the emphasis is more than a neighborhood park. And so I would love us to be mindful of that as we go forward, and that it's just such a crucial part of Bothell that so many people enjoy. I truly feel it's the heart of Bothell, and I just got that feeling speaking to so many people from so many different areas when we were down there. I'll pass it to Sheila.
Yeah, my question is on the bridge or tunnel, whatever that looks like, that is not part of the park's purview. Is that a correct statement?
I would say that it will be part of a discussion. However, that's a transportation element, and it requires a lot more than just parks weighing in. It will require WashDOT, for example. It will require some pretty significant funding. So I guess at this time, it likely is a little further out than the actual construction of the park that we're talking about, but it's certainly an idea that we've heard multiple times, and there are some other opportunities that we haven't considered as well. We will be at some point redoing the 102nd Avenue Bridge, which may present some opportunities as well in the future.
Okay. I just wanted to understand if it financially fell under the parks part of the organization.
I will say that it would be more heavy on transportation funds, likely.
Okay.
Versus parks.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Unfortunately, I didn't attend the open house, but in a related comment, what was the estimate for how many people attended the parade? Is there an estimate?
we always say like 9,000 to 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 people managed to
Park and find a place.
Park and find a place and get down to, and walk down to that park, to the parade. And
The car show too.
Yeah, the car.
And I'm not saying that that's what you would expect at the Park of Bothell Landing every time, but, pursuant to the comments that we had about emphasis on parking as opposed to, or juxtaposed against the use of that park, I would absolutely agree. It's not a neighborhood park. It is a regional park for us. I mean, it's not a regional park in terms of people coming from long distances away, but it is the major park. Yeah. So I think a bridge would be nice. A helicopter pad might be nice too, but I just think that people will find a way if the park is done the right way.
Manny, are you sure you don't want parking there?
What's that?
Are you sure you don't want parking there?
I say I don't want to sacrifice really good ideas that we've discussed simply for the fact that people think that it's too far to walk or they've got to park at the park to access it, because it's not true. I don't know how far the City Hall parking is, but 2 blocks. Anyway, I am advocating for weighing the uses of the park with the need for parking on the site.
I'm sorry. I do have a question about the whole parking thing, because I know that has been a topic of conversation. Is there any data discussing how much people are actually going? I know there's data discussing how much people are actually going to be driving in the next like 5, 10, 15 years, right? Is that something that is that something that we're using to make this decision as well? Because I'm sure somewhere, maybe the Department of Transportation has data on whatnot, and depending on the demographics that are moving in, how walkable the city is that anything that's playing a role in this right now?
Would say no, but there are trends that you look at, and how transit plays into that as we build out some of our transit lines. We don't have a train coming here, but we will have bus rapid transit at some point. So, as you see the buildings sort of going up, the idea is that people will drive less and they'll rely on, public transit once it's there. But again, it's not really driving the conversation at the park at Bothell Landing as much as it might be driving some other conversations.
I did want to share one conversation I got to have with Mary Westerbeck, who's on the planning commission, during the open house. And I was actually a little surprised to hear that there isn't any for sure thought, at least on his side, of the flow on and off the Burke and the bike trails and where the bikes. I asked him specifically, is our thought that the bikes are going to go over 102nd? And I was surprised that the comment was more of a, we don't know, and I would rather they go through Park at Bothell Landing. So, and I know I've had some feedback. I know someone that is like a professional bike racer, and he doesn't like to go over the 102nd bridge because it's just awful. So if he's not going to do it, then I think that there should be a conversation either with council or planning commission, and just some really good thought as to, is this going to go over 102nd? Are we going to route it there somehow, or are we going to route it through Bothell Landing? I think you could do either one, but I do think we need to have a conscious process about that and like a plan of some sort of how to get people in and out of Bothell off the Burke.
Without a doubt, that will be a part of a long-range conversation. Again, this is a huge transportation element. So when you're talking about sort of the cost of something like this and the agencies involved, it's far greater actually than the park that we're trying to build, just to do this one element. So, and it requires a lot more coordination. So that conversation will happen no matter what, whether it happens, on the front end or it happens as we look to rebuild the 102nd Avenue Bridge. We're going to have that conversation, and it will be front and center with council. It'll be front and center with the Washington State Department of Transportation, and possibly, it will likely require some federal resources.
I just think it's helpful to then figure out what you're going to do at the park. Like, if I know where people are coming from, how they're being routed through Bothell, helps. Yeah. What are you going to do at the park?
There is some data out there, and there are ways of getting data about who is traveling where, mostly through your cell phone. But we do not have that tool available to us at this moment. Certainly something we could look at purchasing somewhere down the road.
Final comments?
Second Manny's comment, don't sacrifice amenities in the park for parking. To me, bare minimum parking, all this development down here, people park all the way up the street, they'll come if you do it right. I just want to second that.
Now that staff briefing from Blaine Land about summer programs and events.
Yes, I'll be relatively quick so that I can let Kwan and Gretchen and Nick and Aaron highlight the CFD project. But we just wanted to highlight 4th of July. So roughly we had 2,000 plus parade participants. That means from walkers to more walkers and more walkers, because every vehicle had about 20 plus walkers. And then we had over 120 vehicles, which is a little bit larger than last year. We had 85 registrants in attendance, and so last year we had 75. So it's just continuing to grow. Guesstimating 9,000, I really think we're under that number significantly if there's already 2,000 in the parade. Again, as Nick said, it would be really cool eventually if there is this analytic company that can show you how many people come to the event, where they go, If they're going from PABL to the parade to Pop Kini. And then we had over 100 volunteers, and what it doesn't highlight is there's over 100 staff dabs. So it's a massive lift, but it was a great success. It's an annual tradition here in Bothell, and I think Nick and Aaron can attest to it as well, and those who got to attend it. It really brings together the community, and it really kicks off the summer programs for us. So thank you to all that attended. Sheila, I didn't get to see you this year, but I know you rocked it up VIP. I know you do. So thank you for supporting the efforts, and I can't believe that was year 3 of a parade for myself. Nick, what are you at, like 20?
28.
28. So there you go.
28?
28.
Well, and I'm just going to shout out really, obviously, Nick from the water was my partner, the water team, and really all the employees and volunteers came together, and it was a great event. So hats off to Blaine and Shelby and the whole team for all the effort that you guys put into it, because it was definitely a lot of people and a lot going on all at once. So
thank you, Sheila. Yeah, there's so much we could share on recapping it, but just the high level side, it was a great success in our eyes. Yes.
I was there, and I think it was, as usual, a great parade. I only might make one suggestion, and certainly not one of my favorite. I think I might be close to 28, but not all of 28, but is the children's parade. I mean, that's people just love that. And I think leading it off with the motorcycle people was great. It just went too fast. The children were way spread out. It just didn't seem as impactful as if they were going slow and they were all together. I think that's more impactful. I mean, it still was wonderful, and the kids who were in the parade, of course, get so much out of it. They just love it. But more compact.
For sure. Yeah. No, it is a feat to get those kiddos down on the scooters or buggy and the wagons, so I'll stay in one. But, yes. I wanted to push it over to tomorrow. We have our first Music in the Park. It's looking pretty great. The weather is not 90, it's 80, so we're doing good. We have an opening act and a main act this year. Typically, we usually have done just one band, but now we're doing 2. There'll be food trucks, the yard games, picnicking out there, but it's a great success. I also love the Music in the Park. It's kind of casual, a good element to kick off the summer nights in Bothell. And then next Friday is Makers on Main Street. Right now we have about 20 to 25 vendors. It's a smaller layout with the 101st and Main. And then we have, not smaller in the regard of like footprint, but it's not supposed to be a massive 60 vendors. We want to make it equitable for those who are attending. So the downtown businesses are involved. They're going to do outdoor dining. A lot of them kind of enjoy the experience on Main Street. We have performers, food trucks, everybody who has attended last year. I think most people got to walk down that corridor. So this year, the little bit of a change with Summer Nights in Bothell is that we're having 3 music nights, 2 makers nights, and then 1 finale event. In the years past, we've done a segment of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But this year we've kind of just shifted gears because we heard that the community really loved the Music in the Park and really loved the makers nights. So that's the footprint of that. We do have everything online, and if you ever need a little bit more deep diving, I'm more than happy to send it. One that I'm really excited about is the Family and Youth Summer Entertainment. Every Wednesday in the month of August, there is something for family and youth. The 2 concerts are at noon. They're just a 1-hour set, and then the Theater in the Park, which is live theater production, they start at 6 p.m., and those are on Wednesday as well. Those who got to attend last year, String and Shadow Puppet Theater are coming back, and they have a massive set this year, which is pretty exciting, but we are catering to all. And then our seasonals this year, we have 2 additional seasonals in the admin side, and they're going to be doing pop-up in the park, where they're going to bring out giant games during around like 11 to 3 at Park of Bothell Landing on Tuesdays. And that's just from games to activities, just for anybody who's down at the park.
That's in August as well? No, the whole summer, yeah. July through end of August. Yeah. Tuesdays 11 to 3, yeah.
Has that been advertised? Because I've not noticed.
No, because the season just started 2 weeks ago. So we're just kind of like gathering all their materials for that. We had to check up like a volleyball net, spike ball, giant Jenga, and then we're calling it pop-up in the park because certain series and certain other park departments pop-up and indicates just kind of like just showing up. But we're gonna create a series, so you'll be seeing signage out there that says every week from 11 to 3. Should be starting next week. So we have a busy schedule, but it's the best time of the year. I honestly, there's a lot to share, but I think I'll end up recapping it in September. If there's ever any questions from Scott and Laurel and all the other third-party permitted events, we have a ton of those. Third-party permit is that something that the city's not organizing, and we're already over 60 this year. So like on Saturday, there's a huge market right downtown. But if you ever have questions, feel free to email me. I hate to run through it, but I know there's so much greatness to be shared. I think Nick might have a question.
Well, I don't have a question, but I do have, well, maybe it is a question. Maybe it is a question. So one of the things that we want to reintroduce this year is an opportunity for any board member, as well as any council member, to MC our events. We didn't do a lot of that last year. We kind of, stepped away from that a little bit, but we really wanted to reintroduce that. So we've offered it up to the city council on every single event that we're doing, but we do not have an MC for tomorrow. We're not putting any pressure on anyone. We certainly are more than happy to take that role on, but we really want to give certainly our Parks and Rec Board the first opportunity. We can provide sort of, here are the talking points. We can give you some bit of a script, but if you've seen some of our MCs in the past, they're pretty good at what they do. So they may go off script a little bit, and that's okay. We want it to be your own. So I will throw that out there. If anyone is interested, we do have an opportunity tomorrow. Next Friday, we have Councilmember Jenny L. Dirks, who's going to MC that event for us. So we'll be throwing that out there every week. If you're interested, please come see me maybe after the meeting, and we can get you hooked up. Thank you.
Hi.
I will available if anyone else would like to do it. They're certainly welcome, but I'd be welcome to do it.
Awesome.
If I wasn't on a flight tomorrow, I would be here.
Excellent. We'd love to have you. If you could be there at like 5:45. Does that work for you? Perfect.
All right.
All right, we're set. Thank you, Manny.
You're welcome. I promise not to go off script.
No, you can. We like that, man.
You have some freedom.
You do. I am done. I'm giving it over to Aaron, Nick, and Satine.
All right. Well, this evening, we're really excited to present to you the parks element of this capital facilities plan. So we're fortunate to have Kwan and Gretchen here with us today to kind of help explain the capital facilities plan and the process moving forward. And Nick and I will be presenting to you the projects that are within the plan. So a couple days ago, you were sent a packet with a bunch of numbers in it. This is the parks element of the CFP. So this is what's proposed to be in the capital facilities plan. This is a small fraction of what the capital facilities plan actually is. In fact, my computer is sitting on the current capital facilities plan right here. It involves projects from transportation, water, sewer, surface water. It's our facilities, it's our debt services, and then there's parks as well. So all this funding, all the capacity of our city staff, all this stuff has to be juggled into this capital facilities plan that works for everybody. I'm not going to get too into the details here, but before I turn it over to Gretchen and Kwan, but the goals of tonight, we're really just examining the parks element of the plan. We're going to provide you an overview of the CFP and then the CFP process. We're going to present to you the 17 projects that we are proposing to be within the parks element of the capital facilities plan, and then we'll open it up for some discussion and receive some feedback from the board. So we'll kind of give some ownership to the board to navigate what that discussion and feedback looks like. But that feedback we'll take that feedback, that'll be presented to the CFP committee, which in fact is our city council. So that information that we talk about this evening will be presented to the council as feedback from the board as a recommendation. So I think that we will get into the details and we can talk about that when we get to that point. But for now, I'll turn it over to Kwan to get us going on the presentation.
Well, again, thank you very much and good evening, everybody. Really nice to be here. Again, listening to all the wonderful events that are coming up in the summer. And my wife and I attended most of those last summer. It was our first time, and we look forward to attending them again this year. And again, just kudos to the Parks Department staff. Thank you, everybody. So today we are going to introduce you to the kind of a new process, but I want to give you kind of a 5-minute overview of what we are planning to do, and most importantly, why we are planning to do it this way. So the what and why, I think I owe you really the reasons and give you a heads up on what will be happening between now and December when the City Council adopts both the operating, the CFP, and also the utility budgets. So why I mention all of those budgets is because I think we ought to look at the city budget as a city budget and not individual departments' budget or just the operating budget, or it is just a utility budget. So we are going to do this more comprehensively. And that's the reason we are doing it this early and also do it in a more strategic way. Of course, there are many questions that we don't have answers to, like we still don't have all the revenue updates. We'll get to those throughout the summer months, but this is kind of the preliminary set of numbers when we will be talking to the Parks Board and the Planning Commission next, before we go to the City Council to talk about the CFP. So as you may have heard, the City of Bothell is doing pretty well financially. We are not like any of our surrounding cities where they are really facing a budget deficit that they have to manage. We are in a very good position to plan and also to do a better job in how to really handle our budget. I lost contact. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
You're good on our end, Kwan.
I just lost the visual.
Can you not see the
I'm back.
PowerPoint?
Yep, I'm
Okay.
back. So
Okay.
sorry about that. But again, this is a way that, again, our city has been very, in a way, responsive in spending. So we will keep that tradition going. We do have, again, money in the general fund to take care of the ongoing maintenance. But as we look at the capital improvement programs and the CFP projects, they will add to our inventory. So we will need to take a look at, well, how are we going to support that in the operating budget? So this is why we are looking at, again, all the budgets in a way that we can do more long-term planning. So why are we doing it this particular way? As you know, the City Council decided to reformat the CFP committee in a dramatic way, but also in a way that we will get more feedback from our community and also from our board and commission. So this is a way that, again, we are coming to you asking for your feedback, particularly tonight. And this is not the first opportunity for you to give feedback. And after tonight, we'll again take notes, and we'll be working with park staff to make sure that your comments are being considered and being part of the planning process. Gretchen will go into the details about what we are going to do in the next few months, even with a more detailed schedule. We'll be highlighting some of the parks project, and Nick and Aaron can answer your questions as well. So I will turn the table to Gretchen to make sure that you will have the opportunity to make sure that we are doing our job, and also that we will be getting your feedback to the City Council. There will be a number of public hearings that we'll be conducting in the fall. We did a budget survey earlier this year, and we got feedback from the community as well. So we will try to incorporate all of those into our budget planning, and ultimately make decisions on how to best invest our taxpayers' dollars. So let me turn the mic to Gretchen, and for Gretchen to go through our calendar as well as our process.
Thank you, Kwan.
Yes.
Tell me what you want.
And stay right here.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll give you a little.
Click. Yeah, all right, next.
Before I start, I'd like to share a little bit about the CFP committee meetings. This is the first time I have this opportunity to present a part of the plan to the Parks Board instead of the CFP committee. So in the past, I used to bring light refreshments to keep the committee members to engaged. If you get tired on Thursday or hungry, because before dinner, please help yourself. So I brought some.
Thanks very much.
I apologize for those working remotely. So maybe I can save some for you the next time we meet. Yeah. Okay, so here you see on the slide, I am going to say it again because Aaron did mention earlier, thank you, that we have tonight's objectives are to brief you on the capital planning process steps, including an overview of primary capital city funds for park projects and the CFP development timeline. Secondly, we'll present the proposed parks capital project that will be mostly Aaron and Nick. And lastly, to gain feedback from the Parks Board on project priorities and recommendations. Okay, so you see the next slide. Thank you. The planning process takes place in even numbered years in coordination with the budget development process, and the first 2 years of the CFP are incorporated into the city's 25-26 budget. Secondly, projects and priorities are identified via plans and programs such as road plan, pipeline, and preferred projects. The other one is the capital project team update project cost and revenues. For example, updates will include removal of projects that have been completed and inclusion of projects that may receive grants and other funds. Finance department prepares a forecast of revenues anticipated for the following 7 years. Next, capital project team gathers initial input from the Parks Board, Planning Commission, and the Council CFP Committee on future projects. Project team establishes project timing, estimates M&Os or associated operating cost, identifies revenues, and makes a recommendation to the ELT and city manager. And lastly, council adopts the CFP. On this slide, I'll talk a little bit about the primary capital city funds for capital projects. Just want to let you know that this 25-2031 CFP is a work in progress. The city funds for projects are primarily made up of REIT and impact fees. The estimated available fund balance for each fund at year-end 2031 is shown on the slide. I want to let you know that REIT 2 may be only used for financing REIT 2 eligible capital projects and programs specified in the CFP. The $4.2 million includes $500,000 Opportunity Reserve, which is also named as Opportunity Fund 2. The purpose of setting aside capital funds is to provide for necessary future capital improvements. REIT receipts fluctuate from year to year. It could be used as match funding for grant opportunities or to meet a need that was not identified at the time the CFP was adopted. Currently, park impact fees and open space are restricted for park systems. If the impact fees have not been expended within 10 years of receipts, they shall be refunded to the current property owners. Currently, the estimated end balance is $8.6 million. So I'd just like to have you guys have in the back of your mind that impact fees, they need to be expended within 10 years, or they have to do that per ICW. I don't know the number for the ICW, but yeah, okay. You can go to the next slide. So the next slide shows, here's a list of all the tasks that we've done. We've only done 3. And you notice that the 11th occurred each month almost. I find it really funny. Anyway, in April, we briefed ELT on current, ongoing, and new project cost estimates and revenue forecast. In June, we informed the council on the process of updating the 2025-2031 CFP, reviewed revenue projections, and provided an overview of current, ongoing, and potential new projects. Tonight, we are presenting you the draft CFP parks element, and we are seeking your feedback. The next steps include capital project team presenting the draft CFP to inform Planning Commission and receive feedback on the 17th. Also, we'll hold additional study sessions with the council on July 30th, early September, and on October 15th. And finally, hopefully, council will adopt the CFP in November. That's what I have. I'd like to, before we proceed on to talking about the proposed park projects, and I would like to know if you have any questions or any comments or concerns for Kwan and I. and
Manny?
Thank you for that presentation. Are you going to talk about the one-time revenue transfers and the bond possibilities as well at some point in the presentation?
I
can touch on, I got a little slide. The next slide, I'll talk a little bit about our strategy and some of the funding that's specific to parks.
Okay, thank you.
All I have to say is please don't let her lovely treats go to waste on that. I'm here to grab some cookies before Aaron tips us. Thank you.
Yeah, design yours.
All right, are you ready?
So I do want to talk a little bit about our Parks and Recreation strategy with the CFP. So as you all know, we have our Bothell Parks Recreation Open Space Plan, the PROS plan. That's our guiding document for the CFP and a lot of other things that we do in parks. Every single one of these projects that we'll talk about tonight has some connection to the PROS plan. So there's no surprises there. Some of the funding that we receive, Gretchen mentioned park impact fees. Those are fees that developers pay based on residential development. And there's a formula for figuring that out based on size of units and whatnot. We also have real estate excise tax. That's not specific to parks. It's restricted for specific uses, but is spread out throughout a lot of the different elements within the CFP. We also, you see often we have this King County Parks and Open Space Levy Fund. So that's a voter approved 6-year levy. The window for that is, this current window is 2020, 2025. It primarily funds King County operations and capital projects, but there's a component in it as well that provides some grant opportunities and also some pass-through funding to each city within King County. And so that is specific to parks and also needs to be expended within a certain time frame. So both the park impact fees and the open space levy funds, Gretchen is constantly monitoring when we need to expend those by. We have a lot of projects and we have the ability to expend them. So those are things that we're aware of. I do want to mention the 2031 park impact fee end fund balance that Gretchen showed you on that last slide. It's a pretty, looking at it, it looks like a pretty hefty number, $8.6 million. If you dive deeply into the parks element of the CFP, you'll notice that there's a lot of projects within here that are not funded, particularly on the construction end of things. And we have a lot of big projects that are planned within the CFP. This is a strategy on parks end to have this end fund balance. And as we go through these design processes and understand better what our construction funding looks like, we can use those park impact fees for that funding and leveraged against grant opportunities and other funding opportunities. So it allows us flexibility as we move forward with our capital facilities, capital improvement program. Some of the grant funding opportunities that we typically see here. So Washington State has some Recreation and Conservation Office, RCO, has a number of grant programs. We also have the King County Levy Grants, which I mentioned. There's King County Futures, Snohomish County Futures. There's lots of different grant opportunities out there. And once again, our park impact fees will be leveraged quite likely against these opportunities as we move forward and closer to construction on a lot of these bigger projects. So there's also other funding sources. Manny kind of mentioned a couple of them. We also have ARPA dollars that you see within this. Some of our funding for particularly the park at Bothell Landing is funded through ARPA funding. A demo project is funded through that as well. So we have a number of projects that's one-time funding. There's mitigation funds based on different scenarios with developers. There's one-time revenue transfers. Occasionally we benefit from when council allots it to parks projects from a property sale or something along those lines. So there are other avenues for funding as well. And then also, we'll be going through this 2025 pros process to identify and prioritize our projects moving forward. We're kind of pushing this process forward a little bit. There is a lot of discussion about levies and bonds and all that. I don't know how it all fits, but we want to hear from our community to know what is important to them, and this will help us kind of prioritize things as we move forward with our plan. Laura, can we just, I meant to mention this, we'll just reserve comment for the very end or the discussion, is that okay? Or is it a quick one?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay. So this, I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to go down the list of all the projects that we have within this. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting into the nuts and bolts of each project. We can save that for the discussion afterwards. But I'm going to explain, this slide here is showing current projects within the CFP. I'm also going to show you current projects within the CFP that we've altered somewhat significantly, and then I'm going to show you another slide that are brand new projects to the CFP. So these are all proposed projects, and there's some flexibility in how we move forward with all of them. So none of these should really be too big of a surprise to you. This is currently, these are projects that are current in our current CFP. For example, we have First Lieutenant Nicholas Madrazo Park. We're all familiar with this. We've talked about it quite a bit. It's building a park over the top of the King County wastewater facility in the North Creek Business Park. It's building pathways. We have pickleball courts. We have basketball court. We have picnic shelter, restroom. This project right now is fully funded. And I'll mention as well, if you look at the little key in the bottom right-hand corner, the green projects are funded, fully funded projects. And the blue projects are partially funded projects. Most of them are funded on the design end of things, although that's not consistent with all of them. And then you'll see on the following slides, we do have the black text is unfunded projects. We don't have any money allotted to those projects. So first, Nicholas Madrazo Park is a park that's fully funded. We're actually, as of Tuesday, we're at 60% design. Yay, it's a big deal, it's a milestone. We're getting there, we're still on track to do construction next year, 2025. And just as a little update to the board, because I know we've been following and talking about this project a lot, we have added a few elements. We've taken away some of the above ground detention, water detention, like the storm ponds that would have to be fenced. And we've actually put that stormwater detention underground to allow more usable park space. We've also added additional lighting to the pathway and parking lots and basketball courts, along with the pickleball courts that were originally slated for lighting. So that's just a quick update on that. The Park at Bothell Landing Improvement Project, this is a project that's partially funded. We're funded all the way through design through a generous ARPA allotment by our council. This is a 2040 council vision project. This is a high priority project, and you guys are all kind of up on where that project is. As we get forward and get past this conceptual stage, we're going to start identifying our phasing and our funding moving forward for that project when we have a better idea what that's going to look like. Horse Creek Plaza. So this is a project that's been in the CFP for some time. It's actually a public works-led project. It's over here just south of Popkini Fields. It's a half-acre park, with a gathering space and a viewing area for daylighted Horse Creek. So that is shown as partially funded. The intent is that the developers, once further development happens in that area, the developers will fund the rest of the design and the construction of that park. That park is currently designed at about 60% right now. So the demolition of vacant buildings and structures, we've talked about this one quite a bit. This is fully funded. It involves the demolition of 11 vacant park facilities and the repair of the former Wayne Golf Course front and bridge. To date, just to give you a quick update, is one small structure has been permitted and removed on the back 9. Historical property surveys and hazardous material surveys have been completed on all the buildings. and they are scheduled for demolition in 2025. The Breeze Farmhouse at North Creek Forest will be on a slightly different schedule based on the historical survey that came back to us. Front 9 bridge repair, we currently have some load restrictions on that bridge due to some deteriorating pile caps or some structural elements of the bridge that allows us not to be able to take heavy equipment across the bridge. It's our only access to the south side of the front 9 of the park. So we are currently, as of last week, at 60% on that as well, and we're on track for repair in 2025. So former Wing golf course improvements. So this project changed in title, kind of. It used to be called the Master Plan of Passive Use Areas at the former Wing golf course. So it's still a master plan project, basically to date, but we have a lot of some further design numbers and some construction numbers that are unfunded within the project. So we're kind of looking at this as an ongoing project, and it will be around for a long time. So the skate park and the pump track, and the dog park, these are actually kind of two similar boats, really. We have very limited funding secured or proposed within the CFP, mostly for like feasibility and design pieces of each. We don't have a location identified for either one. All these are actually conversations within our Park and Bothell Landing project. So there is some potential there as well. So next slide, please. So these are the projects that are currently in our CFP, but we've revised significantly or significant enough to make people aware of. So the former Wayne Golf Course Trail Connector, this project in the current CFP is designated for trail construction at the back 9 of the former Wayne Golf Course. So this is a project that's in partnership with King County, and there's some funding available there for the development of those trails. Due to a lot of different reasons, mostly timing and capacity to deliver the project, it's not going to happen within that King County levy window that I had talked about, that 2020, 2025 levy window. So Parks has been in discussions with King County for some time now about the possibility of using some of that funding to at least advance some level of design for a bridge across what is Juanita Creek there. So we also have, going concurrently with this idea, is the Juanita Creek Restoration Project that is being led by our Public Works team. So this would be a project that would be in partnership with that project in King County in developing a bridge that would suit the restoration efforts that are going on the back 9. So the focus of this project has changed considerably. That's the change there. The synthetic turf replacement at North Creek Sports Fields. We only have some money for design proposed to be funded within this project. Currently at the North Creek Sports Fields, 3 of our 4 fields are synthetic. Fields 4 and 2 were replaced in 2022. Field 1 was replaced in 2016. So the lifespan of a synthetic field is approximately 10 years. We can sometimes squeak another year or 2 out of that because we have such a great maintenance team. So this project allows for the replacement of Field 1 in 2028, as well as the design and converting Field number 3 from synthetic grass to natural grass to synthetic turf. So this serves us in the fact that synthetic turf fields allow for more frequent use throughout the year, and it helps us address some of our field capacity needs. So Shelton View property acquisition. So this is unfunded currently in the proposed CFP. This project was previously titled North Bothell Acquisition. We've renamed it, and specifically targeting both the DNR Shelton View and MC properties. So acquisition of both these properties is within the 2040 council vision and a high priority not only for council but for our community. So these are all new projects to the CFP. These haven't been introduced before. A lot of these projects have been on our future project list for some time. Actually, most all of them, if not all of them, have been on that list. So parkland acquisition opportunities, this is a new one. It's unfunded. It's a project that considers the acquisition needs identified in the pros plan. So we have a number of gaps in service that are identified within the pros plan. So those are in open space, neighborhood park acquisition, trails and river access acquisition. So it's really difficult to forecast the timing and opportunities for these projects, but we have introduced this as a placeholder and it's within the CFP for when those opportunities arise. We have a planning document that we can turn to point to say this is a need for our community. And so the inclusive playground at Cedar Grove Park. Yay. So, this is one that we've talked about a lot. It originally started as an asset replacement project. Technically, I guess, we knew it was going to kind of rise to this level where it eventually had to be introduced into the CFP as a capital improvement project. So this we're proposing to have this within the CFP, and we're also proposing to fully fund this actually through design and construction. So we'll be looking at design in 2025 and construction potentially in 2027. So just a little update on that. Because it's been a couple months since you've seen the last concepts. Harper's Playground, I provided them the feedback that we received from the board on concept A with some of the feedback that we gathered here around this table. We're working on some critical areas survey work and topographic survey work for that. So probably be fall before we're back in front of the board again for approval.
When you say design, does that mean permitted documents ready for bid?
Yeah, construction ready documents, yeah. I mean, permitting is another element with that. We
Can
consider
you do that for 125K?
Yeah, well.
That seems a little thin. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Blythe Park, Centennial Park, East Norway Hill Park, I'm just going to kind of group these together. We've had master plans of these parks. They sat on the shelf and collected dust for a while. We had a master plan completed in 2011 for Blythe Park. A master plan of Centennial Park was completed in 2002. Of course, we constructed the first phase of the park, but there's phase 2 improvements that we could consider moving forward. East Norway Hill Park master plan was completed in 2017. So this introduces those on kind of the tail end of that 7-year window for the CFP. Gets us thinking about design and construction of those parks. And then we also have the North Creek Forest, which is kind of in the same boat. So we acquired the North Creek Forest in 2017, and we have, we need to create a master plan or an idea of how we want to move forward with development or any development at that point. And then the last project we have down here on this list before we open it up to conversation is the downtown park connectivity planning. So this is just kind of taking this idea that we have this downtown parks corridor that includes the park above the landing, the Sammamish River Park, the regional trail system, Blythe Park, Wade's Golf Course, Red Brick Road, over 200 acres of contiguous parkland, and looking at that as one park and how all those elements connect to each other. So looking at it from a lot higher level. Rather than looking at each park as their own separate park. So this would be a master plan of what would be a downtown park of some sort. So understanding connectivity between all those elements. And there's some funding that's kind of. And then this gives you kind of a visual, or the best I could give you a visual of kind of what how this lays out planning wise and how it's introduced in the CFP. It's not exact, this as we move along, things might get shuffled around a little bit, but this gives you an idea of where we're targeting design efforts for each of these 17 projects and construction efforts within the CFP. This might actually be a good slide to kind of just stick on since it has a list of all the projects. And at this point, I think we can just open it up and hear some of your questions and clarifications you need or anything Kwan or Gretchen would like to add before we get to that point. Laura?
Laura, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Thank you. I have just a question about the real estate excise tax and how that works and how it's allocated. Is that something like a percentage that you're able to estimate what goes to parks, or you have to ask for it, or how does that work?
How it works is it's all based on what we provide the real estate excise tax and forecast to the council. And then we go, okay, the priority goes, let's say transportation has 5 top, top transportation projects, and they need, I don't know, $2.5 million of REIT in order to match the grant that they have. And then Parks has X number of dollars. So it's based on what council, which project they want to be included and funded in the CFP. And if they have grants, that's pretty attractive, but you have to match, a certain amount of REIT. Now, REIT is not for all projects. It has to be, there's certain criteria that each project has to meet. So that's how we allocate and we determine how much of the REIT can go to which project is based on what council has decided.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And if I can expand on that, so from our point of view, there is, again, a citywide approach to the most important CFP projects on the list. So again, it all depends on timing and are they ready after design. So it's all about a citywide approach.
Great, thank you, Kwan.
Yes.
Sheila, you had your hand up?
Hi, thank you for this, everybody involved. This is really helpful. A couple questions on the, I want to confirm I'm understanding for the inclusive playground at Cedar Grove. This will not start construction till 2027, though it is fully funded. Is that a true, let's say, assessment?
Yes, that is. We're doing where we're at right now, we're doing conceptual design. There's a whole process of design development and permitting that's going to be required before we can get to construction.
Okay. And then we have listed separately, and they're based on, I kind of put together my own spreadsheet, but the skate park and dog park, and based on my understanding, we've got some money secured. Is that more for design or assessment of where those would be located? And those are up and above what we had discussed, the possibility in Park at Bothell Landing improvements, correct?
Correct, yes. So the Park at Bothell Landing, all those elements are part of the conversation at this time. The dog park, and really the money that's allotted to it is for like a feasibility study or to understand or some level of design. We do have this thought with the dog park, with the money that we have for feasibility. So we're going into a master plan process for the former Wayne Golf Course next year. We anticipate that there's going to be a lot of conversation about dogs at those meetings. So there is this thought that potentially we could have this conversation, have this educational piece why the dog park may not work at the former Wayne Golf Course, but also provide this outlet to have a productive conversation on where that may land. So that is a thought that we have. It's not completely formulated yet, but it's a consideration.
So then, like, if one of these elements fits within the park at Bothell Landing, like the skate park, does that then free up those funds? Like, it's two birds with one stone kind of a thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
priority. We hear it as a priority. That's why it's in the CFP. We just haven't figured.
Couple of quick questions. On the mitigation revenue source, there are specific pockets of money dedicated to parks, correct?
When you talk mitigation, so like, one example is for the Madraza Park.
Right.
So when that park was constructed, or when the Brightwater was constructed, the wastewater facility rather, it was agreed upon with the city and King County that the county would pay a portion of mitigation funds that not only funded that park, but actually funded a lot of the amenities that we see today at the North Creek sports fields, like the lighting and some of the synthetic turf out there. So yes, that's one example of mitigation funds.
But I guess I understand that, but I guess my question is, you list fire mitigation, transportation mitigation, and parks mitigation. Is there a formula or a percentage that goes to each of those in mitigation funds per development, or is it more competitive?
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is I think we might be talking about park impact fees.
Yes.
Through residential development.
Right.
Yes, there is a formula that goes into that. So the developer has to pay a certain amount based on the type of residential development. And that, the idea behind that is to support the increased capacity.
Right. And that's a question that I get most from people around the community, which is, you see so much development going on in Bothell, particularly downtown. And that, my gosh, we must be just rolling in park impact fees, with transportation impact. So as we go through this and identify sources of revenue and how we're going to fund these, we need to keep in mind that there may be some unrealistic expectations or beliefs about, because there's so much development, we must be having millions of dollars flow into Bothell's coffers through the park impact fees, and I know that's not necessarily the case. And then one thing that's not on the capital facilities plan, and I know it's in the pros plan, and it's probably a very good reason for that, is the community center idea. And I do understand that the PRSA is being considered as a potential funding source for a regional community center, even though I know that that's very early in the process. But that certainly is exciting because PRSA, as most of us it's bigger than Bothell. It's what funded the senior center and the adult day center. So it includes 3 cities and 2 counties. It's a school district boundaries, I guess, is their boundaries. So it's a lot bigger, thus the impact is spread out over more people. Hoping that we could somehow get involved with that too, in terms of some of our projects. But I just wanted to bring that up. And I'll have some more general questions at the end.
So I would just add to that we are involved in those conversations.
Good.
The executive director of the MPRSA is actually our assistant city manager, Becky Range, and we do have staff on that board. We are currently, or MPRSA is currently doing a feasibility study on what a community center and or aquatic center might look like. And like you said, it is regional. There's a lot of different players at the table. We have the city of Kenmore, the city of Bothell, the city of Woodinville, the school districts, of course, the senior center, and both Snohomish and King County participating in that in more of a regional type effort. They've not, like you said, it's very early. They've completed a survey. They have that feedback. They're, starting to look at, where that might be sited, where they potentially could put those, a facility like that, but more to come. It is an exciting conversation and we are participating in it.
That's great. Thank you.
Sheila, I couldn't tell, did you want your hand up or did you have a further question?
I just, on the I was taking notes and I don't think can we talk a little bit about the downtown parks connectivity? Is that specific to the 102nd Bridge, or is that all up something else?
It's a master planning effort for all the parks that are connected in our downtown corridor. So that includes the regional trail system, the Sammamish River Park, Park at Bothell Landing, Blythe Park, Brackett's Landing even.
Horse Creek might even.
Yeah, Horse Creek could be former Wayne Golf Course and Red Brick Park. So there's 200 acres, over 200 acres.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Okay, that is all my questions for right now. Thank you.
On the downtown core thing, this hasn't been brought up since I was been here, just 2 meetings now. But I remember filling as a resident, filling out a survey for a temporary park in this gravel area down here. Is that still being talked about?
So that was actually brought back to council. The ideas they were wonderful. I mean, they were.
Yeah, they were very appealing to my kids.
They were a little bit aspirational. There was no funding behind any of those ideas.
That part too.
Council landed on expanding the actual footprint of the little pop shops. So it sounds like they're going to be adding additional, perhaps 4 of those with some interconnected trails down there. The important piece about that lot is it is temporary.
Yeah.
So they're looking at an 8-year sort of cycle before it's got its bill of health and it's clean. And then the real discussion will happen as to what that might look like moving forward. So
before they can sell it, they have to wait 8 years before they can sell it.
It has to be clean. So it's under an order by the Department of Ecology, and it's got some contaminants underneath of it. They're going through a process to clean those contaminants. Once it's clean or to a point, that will free it up to open it up for development.
It reminded me because Kirkland's doing a temporary park in their old park and ride off of 405, and I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, so I was just, that might be something to look at if it's pursued, you know.
Yeah, they put in a really good raised garden beds and then pickleball because it's right next to the freeway.
Which, I mean, likewise, except for the apartments right there. But yeah, I mean, there's supposed to be a pump track in there, a temporary pump. I don't think it's happened yet, but it was on the list of come this summer.
Yeah.
So anyways, just.
I have comments, of course. So first I wanted to just touch on, I learned this week that King County Housing, Homelessness and Community Development has a lot of money for non-housing capital projects. And specifically this year, a lot of that money was completely unused because it is supposed to go to North King County, specifically Shoreline, Kenmore, Woodinville, I think. And I know from very good sources that they would really, really, really like to give that money away. And this year, there wasn't anyone that applied for any of that funding. So I don't know if we can look into trying to see if we have any projects. We certainly have a bunch listed here in King County and try to get money through that department. The trick is that you have to prove low income or that it would benefit certain populations. And so that would be mostly either the homeless or elderly are big focuses because of the department the money is under. Usually they would do that with census tracts, but we don't have any census tracts that would qualify. But they are really, really, really wanting to get rid of this money. And so if we could do any sort of study to show that it would be used more so by elderly or have any benefit to those specific populations, it sounds like we would have a very good shot at getting funds because we applied for them and they want to give them. So.
Can you one more time say the agency?
It's through, I'm 90% sure on this. When I was told of it, I thought it was going to be easy to Google, and it wasn't as easy to Google as I thought. But I'm 95% sure it is King County Housing, Homelessness, and Community Development, non-housing capital projects.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. Well, we have that huge senior area over there. It seems like
So if you could say
You can
like a
connect to
larger
that.
proportion of seniors go to Park at Bothell.
So
Yeah.
I don't know that we're able to speak to that tonight, but what we can do is some follow-up and touch with our community development department and others, our exec department, who deals with a lot of the human services to see what they know of the program, and then we can report back at perhaps the next meeting.
Yeah, totally. I just wanted to put that on people's radar. And then the second one, this isn't specific to parks, but since there's other people in the room, if you could look at making some investment into sidewalks from the bus stop to the inclusive playground project as part of this, so that we can actually get people with mobility issues from the closest bus stop to the inclusive playground, that would be great. I would have liked to see us fully fund, I mean, part of this, obviously, there's some logistical problems with fully funding the dog park, but I do think that needs to be just a high priority. And I loved seeing parkland acquisition. I just think that's so crucial right now as property becoming more harder and harder to come by, that we secure that now. And very, very happy to see the downtown connectivity section of this. I love a great master plan and knowing what we're going to do. So that was awesome to see. I would just like to remind everyone that people love to run in circles. So if we could like get some circular paths going, that would be awesome.
I just wanted to highlight the importance of shifting the focus of the funds on P35 to the bridge, which is part of the trail. It's a really critical part of the trail. It wouldn't have to be truncated without that bridge across the stream. So huge support for that. Also a lot of support for the Blythe Park improvements. And I just wanted to highlight that the King County Flood Control District did a lot of work prioritizing projects along the Sammamish River, and the riparian area along Blythe Park shot up super high in their prioritization list. So the Flood Control District has funds that would be, in theory, allocated to restoration of the riparian area along that zone. So, so yeah, there's a lot of leverage there. And I'm sure that it could be worked out to remove that tire mound and get rid of the chemicals that are not good for anybody in those tires, not good for fish. And I also had one question about I was really happy to see the North Creek Forest Master Plan added to the plan here. And I was wondering, some of these we're calling, Blythe Park improvements, but this one I think was left as North Creek Forest Master Plan. Is there any consideration in instead calling it improvements to sort of integrate in that forward-thinking construction, trailhead amenities at that project?
It's something we could definitely consider. It's similar to like the former Wayne Golf Course passive use area master plan that we have in there currently. We've changed that to the former Wayne Golf Course passive use improvements. And we've added that construction piece, just staying consistent with that line of thought. We don't have a construction piece identified within the CFP, so it's just a master plan project to date. But if construction was a high priority, that could be something that's considered.
And then I had a question, if the former Wayne Golf Course improvements, does it include the active use zone where the clubhouse is, or does it leave that out?
I mean, my take is that that is going to be part of the project. It's an important piece that we've heard from our community. We've touched on various ideas, but it keeps coming up. So I believe, and we're planning to have that as part of the conversation.
Okay. So I
We
think
think it's an
integrating
important piece of that conversation.
together is better instead of having it so separate. We're talking about doing a downtown parks master plan. Like clearly, looking at it holistically is important, and there's very different things that can happen in just right across the invisible line. And so, if ideas come to the table that can't be done in passive areas, they could be explored in the active areas. Similar conversation came up with the dog park at Park at Bothell Landing,
Yeah.
where You know, it's like, well, if it's not here, then where? How do we plan all of our parks in the city at one time? But you can't do that. We have to focus one at a time. So I think lumping together as much as we can into one conversation allows us flexibility and freedom to pursue all of our community needs.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why we see that is because that 4-acre parcel is designated as an economic driver. It's, you know, that's been the conversation to this point, and that conversation could very well change significantly, and it could change on a dime.
So you don't want to put dogs there because they're not economic driver. You want something that
There's been a lot of conversations.
fund the park.
When we actually purchased the property, and that was the unencumbered piece that we purchased, the idea is that there would be some sort of public-private partnership that would help fund the actual maintenance of the facility. So all of the acreage, all of the M&O, that was the idea. The city went out, we did a feasibility study. It came back with something that was similar to like a boutique hotel. And I will say it flopped. It flopped in a big way. The community was not in support of that. So we definitely need to go back and have that conversation with our community. I do think it's an important piece, and it's a great opportunity as well, to Whitney's point of, you know, we're going to hear a lot of ideas when we start talking master plan, but a lot of that property is passive use only. So that really kind of limits some of these bigger ideas, but we do have this 4 acres that we potentially could do some real cool idea for the community that could be put there and could, you know, be a real nice piece to the entry to the park as well.
Just a couple of, I don't know if this is the right time if we got more presentation, but, you know, having some experience with capital facilities plans, as many of us do, you know, it's a double-edged sword. As you can hear tonight, everybody gets excited because you're listing projects. That's cool. Wow. Cool, the Horse Creek Plaza, the et cetera, et cetera. And then you look at that chart, and most of it is way out there. Why? Because we don't have the money for most of it. We have money, it's easier to get money to master plan than to actually construct something. And that's the double-edged sword. The expectation gets risen. And, you know, the whole thing about, you know, how can we answer the question about where a dog park's going to go if we don't know if it's going to go at the Park of Bothell Landing? Please no. And so where it gets to the crux of things is the funding. And if you look, I thought there was a total page in here someplace. It's really high to fund all of this stuff. And the available money is really low or lower. And that's discouraging. So you raise people's hope and then you discourage. The answer is going to be in the staff and the boards and the community getting creative and getting on board with ways to fund, including a levy or bond. And I'm certainly glad it was discussed earlier that all of these projects have an impact on operations. All of these projects come with operation cost increases. You're not proposing any maintenance-free facilities, I'm assuming. So it's levy can fund operations, the bond for capital. That's when the community and through leadership, council, boards, commissions, community organizations get really involved. You really want a dog park? It can go on a park bond. You really want the Park of Bothell Landing finished? It can go on a park bond. If you don't want to see it in 2029, we can do it sooner if we had the money. Certainly, the master plan would help. The more specific we can be about what a park bond or a levy or PRSA or whatever it is going to get us these projects. It won't be all of them. It'll be very difficult for the council to decide which ones goes on. I've had some experience with that too. That isn't easy because everybody has a favorite. That's when the rubber meets the road, and I think we're hopefully closer to that than that chart would have us think.
So I guess I would say this. The capital facilities plan, putting projects on there provides opportunities for us, and it provides opportunities for grants, for example. If I want to go after a certain pot of money, I can say, hey, it is identified here in the pros plan. It's identified in, the council vision. It's in our capital facilities plan. Those are all things that score points in a competitive grant environment. I would say the other part of it too is that priorities sometimes change. Opportunities come and go. And we have to be, flexible and nimble enough to be able to switch gears where we need to. One of the biggest opportunities before us, and to think about it in terms of looking at a levy or looking at a funding source, really is the idea in what we're proposing in the budget to bump the PROS plan up 1 year in advance so that we can actually go out to our community, we can have this conversation again. And there perhaps are things on here that we're not even considering. We don't know right now, but there's things in the community that they would like to see in the PROS plan, which will then help inform 2 years from now what the capital facilities plan will be, what a levy or bond measure might look like if the community is even willing to fund it, and it will prioritize some of those things for us. So this is just part of that process to get there. And sometimes it is a long game. It's tough because we live in a world that you want things immediately. It's 7-Eleven, you can go get your Slurpee today for free. We all want that really quick, but it's a long game. And
I would agree totally, Nick. I so hope I didn't imply that, we need to put up on a park bond next year. And it is a long process. But I think when we talk to the community, that's the kind of questions we get. Oh, I heard that you're finally moving ahead of the park at Bothell Landing. When are we going to see that? How's that going to be funded? I even get questions like, when's the next park bond? We want to see things built. And I know that is a long process. All of this contributes, and it fits together really well if it's done that way.
The goal today is to say what we think is the priority. Is that the goal that we're giving feedback on?
We have a little bit of time left, and
It seems very
it's really up to the park board. I would advise probably not getting into the funding sources and stuff like that
But
too
just
much. The capital facility committee, the council's going to kind of work that out. But what we need to hear is what priorities the board.
Well, I see
has.
a few things on there where you can't ignore, like the North Creek turf, right? You already put investment, you can't just let it go to, you have to, right? You have to put that as a priority, right? Even though it's whatever years out, you can't just let it go. To me, the Horse Creek Plaza, that's embarrassing over there. It's like the actual Horse Creek Plaza has been done, but it's all gravel. It's all the sidewalks are all half done. It's all mismatched over there and weird, and people are parking up on what should be a sidewalk. That. Those things to me are priority. Things that are halfway done or in process already, and you can't you've already put all this money in, why let it go kind of thing. And I don't know if there's other things like that up there. Before you move forward, you have to maintain what you have or finish what you have, I think is a big priority. Before you build that skate park, let's finish this Horse Creek Plaza. It's not very big, it's not significant, but it looks pretty janky over there. I walk that road.
So it is dependent though. It is dependent on other things. And it's not that it's, that the plan isn't to finish it. It's just that it is dependent upon development. It is dependent.
Because that was originally planned and we have to wait till this parcel sells before we can do anything, and that's just how it was.
And the original vision has changed a little bit. The school district wasn't quite as excited about the promenade that we were.
Right, to connect it or something.
And that ended up in somewhat of a legal situation for us. So there's things that play into these projects that are sort of behind the scenes. But yes, it is in the capital facilities plan. It is primarily a public works project, although it is considered sort of a small urban skate park. And we will get there. We will get there. I promise you, we will get there.
In terms of the facilities plan itself, I think you've done a magnificent job, and the team has done a really good job. These are the projects, I think, that if I showed this to the people that I talk to, they'd say, yeah, that looks really, really good. Recognizing no one expects all of them to be done. It kind of goes out to 2031. So, panic. So I'm in fully support. I think the priorities are right. Let's move forward with the facilities plan.
I really like that you mentioned the pros plan, because one question that really I have, and I think it's because of how I filled out the survey, and I will fully admit what I wrote was number one for me, and that was acquiring parkland. And it's not because I don't want a brand new park, it's because I'm really worried that we're not gonna get it in the future, that things are gonna get built up and we're not gonna get it. And it seemed like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, because I didn't look at it this morning, today, I didn't get a chance to. I believe the budget survey, residents voted acquiring parkland much higher than I anticipated, like more so than.
It was in the
even
top three.
program, yeah. And I'm thinking that maybe the community is feeling similar to how, I thought I was a minority, but maybe I wasn't. And I would love to learn more from the community of, is that the reason that you rated that so high? Is it because of conservation? Like, do you want that as active use space? Do you want it as passive use space? And I do think if we're going to invest, it's easier to get the land now than not, but really having that conversation with the community of like, what do you mean when you rated it so high, and really trying to deliver on that, because I would wait another 20 years for Park at Bothell Landing personally if it meant that there was a neighborhood park every quarter mile, or every even mile at this point. So I just think like trying to figure out what I mean, that's just me, I'm an N of one. I don't know that everyone meant that. So I would love to understand what they.
I would only respond to that with, I think that's definitely a good conversation for us to have, because I have some, not opposition, but some comments about open space versus park development. We have so many parks that need to be developed so people can use them. Yeah, once you lose the land, it's gone forever, but that's a really good conversation if you have most of your parks developed, well-used, the community enjoys them, and et cetera. It is always a difficult, because if you lose it, it's gone forever. Argument is very persuasive, but it's one that has to be balanced with finishing the parks that you have.
100%, yeah.
Anyway.
And I chime in to get it while you can get it. They're not making any more.
It's true.
I agree with you. Delay to acquire where you need to acquire it. You know, the pros and plans says where we need it. You always, and it looks like you have money sitting there and you're ready to pounce on an opportunity, and that just totally makes sense, and you need to allow yourself that opportunity.
Are there projects that are not on this list, or are there projects on the list you don't think should be on the list? If you're okay with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll share with you. I don't think Heather would care. I talked to Heather a little bit about actually just PT stuff, but we were talking about this exact question. And even Heather said, I would delay the inclusive playground project for more park space. And so, I don't know if she wants me to quote her too much on that, but I just think it highlights the kind of that situation of like having the community. And I think it's an important project. I don't want us to drop it by any means, but I just thought it's
Luckily, we're not voting on that tonight.
I think it balances well with acquisition. But I do think that natural areas are perfect for use just the way they are.
But require a lot of management and money in themselves, even just the open spaces. You know, costly.
I guess there is the Shelton View acquisition on here that it seems a little unlikely in the immediate. Did I understand that wrong? But
There
I'm
was
kind of on the shelf right now.
one grant acquisition that didn't work out.
Okay.
Not, yeah.
Honestly, I would say going back to the core and the connectivity, there's so much around even downtown right now that we could be, I actually don't know if the city could buy, but that burnt out lot down there, or the big lot that's by the library, or this piece here, which I know the city wants to sell to make money, but it's like, this right here is a perfect park opportunity. It's right in the heart. Those are great, acquisitions that I would be more into, but I'm also a neighbor because I live a few blocks away. So that's also my motivation. But it's also appealing, to have park space in the core, meeting opportunities.
I have one very quick question about the park over by the library, or across from the library by the pet hospital. Where I currently work. Is that our park, or it's our park?
You're
Okay.
talking about that little playground park.
No.
Yeah, there's a big grassy area that I think is private.
Oh, the trees.
That's a private.
That is a privately held development.
Okay, because I thought that was our park, and we just sold that property. We're moving, and so I was confused because I thought that was our park, and I was like, how did we sell that? What are you talking about? That makes a little more sense. Okay.
Yeah, that actually is owned by a developer who has had some ideas about doing something similar to what you're seeing downtown. They just haven't brought it together yet, and they're allowing public to use it. But if you go to it, you'll see the signage that it very clearly states it's privately owned and privately maintained, so.
Yeah, why are they not developing it? They just.
I can't speak to developers.
Yeah, okay.
They have their reasons, similar to the property down on Main Street that's owned by Main Street Properties.
Okay, yeah.
They're the ones who developed some of our bigger properties down here. There's a lot of different parts, and it's a big conversation in the community. Lot P South, I think, is one that you mentioned. That's a conversation that's happening at council right now, and looking at partnering with the United Methodist Church and some low-income housing development with 200 units. That will take time, and that presents opportunities as well. When you think of space that might be sitting vacant, there's some opportunities there that we could look at.
Yeah.
So.
Are you looking for a motion of support, or feedback's good enough?
We can work with feedback. We can do our best to summarize what we're hearing tonight.
Why does it say the dog park's being constructed in 2026? Is that just if we can find a spot that could be done pretty good? Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Sheila? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm just going to do a shout out that we get wayfinding in all the parks we develop. We have signage. It's continued feedback, especially for those trying to make it through Blythe and Front Lane, Back Lane, up the trail, up the hill, all of that kind of stuff.
So on that note, we are hoping to include that as part of the Wayne improvements project that we've listed. So looking at doing wayfinding and then creating templates for the rest of our park system using that exercise.
Excellent.
Harvey, did you have anything? Any other comment? Thank you.
Well, the next steps, we'll take all the feedback we heard from you, package that up. There's, as Gretchen mentioned, this will go in front of the council July 30th. So there'll be a similar presentation. This will be, the park piece of it will be a lot more condensed than what we had, the conversation we had tonight, but we will present forward that feedback, and I'm sure Kwan and Gretchen have ways of presenting that information to the council as well. Kwan.
Yeah, I just want to finish up by saying how appreciative I am. I have been listening to all your conversations, and this is exactly why we are doing this. Your conversations at your level, conversation at the city council level, we are just having conversations about the future of not just the parks, but the city of Bothell. So I'm really excited about the opportunities. As Nick mentioned, this is a 7-year plan, and that's designed to be a 7-year plan. And there are opportunities out there, and we are just getting ourselves ready. If an opportunity happens, we will be able to take advantage of it. And again, as Nick said, we are moving the PROS plan a year early. And we are just doing our homework to make sure that we are in a good position when that opportunity comes. As you may remember, the City Council did identify as part of their 3-year strategic priority plan the discussion about a potential parks levy. So that's our instruction, and we are again doing our homework. It will be difficult work. I'm not saying there will be plenty of money down the at the end of the rainbow, but I'm seeing rainbow, and I'm seeing a lot of hard work ahead of us. And I thank you to the parks staff, and I thank you to the parks board for having this conversation.
Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
All right, thank you for being here too, Gretchen. All right, I'll invite a
Make sure
motion.
you have some food or in case my
Yes, thank you. Invite a motion to adjourn. Moved by Jay, seconded by Nick. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Bye, Kwan. Bye, Sheila. Bye,
Bye.
Laura.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Kwan.
Aquatic Center is going to be tough.
104th? Okay.
All the way to the top? No, just like a block and a half.